All right, everybody. Welcome to the Tomorrow Today podcast. You got myself. I'm your host, Duke McKenzie, and my co-host,
Kyle Kaplanis. What's up, everybody?
What's up, Kyle? Good to see you, brother. So today, we got a very special episode today. We've been having some really cool conversations and wanted to share them with you, especially since the world's changing so fast. So one of the things that we wanted to talk about is that if you've been following this podcast and you've been following us on social and you've been seeing the things that we've been doing and everything in our day-to-day lives, which we spend most of our time talking to and working with and being a part of creators, right? Born on TikTok creators, YouTubers, some Instagrammers, but we've made a heavy bet on short form and with born on TikTok creators. Now, the reason why that is interesting is that most of the creators that we work with are all Gen Z, right? TikTok is a Gen Z phenomenon and they're all Gen Z. And what they all had in common is that they really played a key role for me. And I don't know, but for you, Kyle, bringing us into everything Web3. So everything like blockchain, crypto, spending a lot of time on NFTs and how that would change the game.
Yeah.
And we spent a lot of the beginning parts of the spring and the winter and everything really diving really deep and head first into all things Web3. Kyle, you even changed and started a new TikTok handle called the Web3 Guy, right? Like you even did that, right?
Right.
And so one of the things that happened as we were on this journey of Web3 was that Web3 winter happened. T's crashed, cryptos crashed, even things in the metaverse, which we're exploring or whatever, everyone just taking a big pause. And I wanted for us to check in. We're about 2 months into the crypto winter and the Web3 winter and all of those things. And I want to check into you and just sort of like, where are you at? What are your thoughts and whatever? Because you are the Web3 guy and leading. And I think that the audience would find that interesting as in what are our thoughts during this time on Web3, during this bit of a downturn or slowdown?
During the bear market is a great time to really evaluate, and it slows things down enough to where you can catch up with your research, because when it was peak, things were moving so fast that I felt like I was out of touch with so many things. Whereas right now with the bear market, I'm able to do a lot more research to plan for the future of when it becomes a bull market again and be in the mix. In my local town, we've been doing some Web3 meetups, and it was interesting to see the decline in people showing up. But there was people that continuously did, and so you got to see who was actually here to stay or really found it more passionate versus it being a fad. And it's making me rethink a lot of things.
Like what? What has been making you rethink? And how were you thinking 60 days ago versus how are you thinking right now?
60 days ago, I was thinking I was late.
Yeah.
Literally, I thought I was late.
Craziest thing? Isn't it the craziest thing? Oh my God, we're behind. We're behind all this brand new technology.
Right?
Yeah.
But really, we're so early that this bear market is slowed things down. But that made me realize, okay, shit, I'm not behind at all. In fact, I'm extremely early because I believe in this 100% because it's just too much technology that there's no way this won't move forward. In the next 10 years, we'll be looking back at this episode and laughing and saying, yeah, we were early. But it changed my mindset and got me even more excited because I realized, okay, I have a little bit more time to understand this, process this, and be fully prepared for the next bull run. And what I like about this bear market is it stopped all the bullshit. There was too many projects going out that were just nothing. And now because it slowed down, people are putting a lot more pressure and saying, we don't want this crap anymore. We want really good things that will move the needle in the positive.
So I have taken this time since then, and I've been blessed with working on it, and we've worked on together, like it's really diving into tokenized gaming, right? One of our creators that we work with, Michael Lee, co-founded a tokenized gaming platform called Joystick. One of Joystick's mission is to say, okay, we're trying to make it so that as many people as possible can earn a living being a creator. And part of that, a key component of that is doing it in the gaming space, right? What Michael Lee, you could call it luck or brilliance or whatever it is, but what Michael Lee did was he ended up launching that company after the crash. So it allowed them to take their time and to really build, and the stuff that they're building is amazing. But one of the key things that has happened to me over the last, I would say 2 months watching the downturn is that you mentioned that you realized how early you were. I feel a lot more comfortable coming in here now because I'm heavily into Web3, believe in all of those things, believe in NFTs, to believe in decentralization, believe in tokenized gaming and all of those things. It's just when it was going so fast, I won't use the word late. I would use the word I felt behind. Do you know what I mean? Felt uncomfortable
Mhm.
saying that I was behind and learning because I'm like, wow, guys, you got to catch up. And right now, two things I'm finding is I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I don't
Mhm.
feel behind. And then number two, at one point when the market was red hot, and especially in the NFT space, right, where everyone was making quote unquote money was the appreciation of the assets. So, like, you had a project, oh, well, it's going to great because I'll sell this JPEG for $500. And then next month, I'll sell one for $10,000 or whatever it is. It was the
Right.
appreciation of these digital assets. Whereas our skill set of working with creators, our skill set of selling brand advertising, trying to find alternative ways to use these assets, alternative ways to use NFTs, alternative ways to use the blockchain. And people are much more open and willing to hear that and experiment with that now because we're here now. We got to build. And I find that quite refreshing. And I'm taking a lot of time and advantage of doing that.
Exactly. Something I learned during this time as well was that I was really focused so much on trying to educate people on what the hell a blockchain is and all these terminologies. And somebody shared a piece of content and it really got me thinking. And they said, nobody needs to know that stuff. And their example was when you think of banking, you don't think of how that transaction processes.
I
It just
agree.
happens.
I
So
agree.
what got me thinking was my mindset was more of educating people versus being too technical,
Uh-huh.
was changing it more to like layman term things that we're just going to know, because eventually people will be using Web3 technology and they don't even know it. It's just
Right.
going to be just like the internet is. It's just going to be a thing.
Right.
And when I saw that, I was like, holy shit, duh, this just makes sense.
No one knows how their cell phone works.
Exactly.
We all use the internet. Nobody knows how the internet works.
You don't.
Like how, Kyle? How does the internet work? I don't know. You're on the
I don't
internet
know.
all day.
Right?
Nobody knows how the internet works. That makes sense. The only thing I would say is that the reason why I remember I've been reading articles and I've been going back to first principles to figure out, okay, what's the blockchain? What is it letter? But it's more because I want to build. I want to try and understand the technology and everything that's going on to try and create things. So I'm just trying to look at things in a different lens, which is taking a step, and learning is important in that step. But when you're building something, it's not important for everybody to know how this works. The interesting thing about the internet that we know of it today is basically has broken out because of something that no one could have predicted, which was the invention of the smartphone.
Yeah.
The invention of the smartphone revolutionized the internet because the big revelation was that the internet is always on in your pocket, everywhere you go. Everywhere you go, any place, versus when it first started, it was on a computer that you had to dial in. It wasn't always on. That invention, that I think it happened in 2009 or whatever it was, but that invention was what made the modern day internet happen as the way that we see it right now.
Right.
The thing is, when we are looking at the blockchain, we are looking at all of these things. Someone has to invent the iPhone of the blockchain of Web3, right? To make those things all work. It's not missing. I'm not going to use the word missing. It just go with early. We cannot even imagine all of the things that are coming with these new technologies yet, just like we couldn't imagine that we would be walking around with a computer in a pocket that would make it so you could summon a car and get a car, get food, get anything in 10 minutes.
Exactly.
Wherever you are in the world.
Exactly. You know, it's funny. I read an article recently and it was the founder of Ethereum. And he said that Mark Zuckerberg needs to slow down because he's spending billions of dollars on products he doesn't even know if consumers want yet.
Right.
Because that's how early we are. We don't even know what people even want from this technology as of yet. And that got me thinking too. We're early. You know what else? Another thing is when I was getting my username for TikTok and it was available, I was like, I'm early. Because that
that's a good name.
and
It's sort of like
from now,
there it is. That is funny. Yeah, that is funny. So let me ask you a question. Over these last 60 days, how has your perspective changed since you were at VeeCon? We did an episode. By the way, we're going to hit our 20th episode soon. I don't know when. But the question is, we did an episode right after VeeCon. And I think one of the key takeaways from that episode, and we'll put in the show notes what that episode was right after VeeCon. One of our key takeaways from that was the first time that I saw a real world example. That's what I was
Yes.
looking for from NFTs, right? Even
Yes.
from the use of my tickets, I see how he plans to make the toys and do all of that type of stuff. It was just, oh, this is a real world use case
Yes.
of how you could use NFTs. And that was a big awakening for me, right? Like, not
Yes.
awakening, sort of like an aha moment for me. I'm just curious as to what have you learned or what has changed since you went to VeeCon? Or do you even look at VeeCon differently now than you did now that you have these 60 days under your belt?
My takeaway and how I look at things is almost similar to yours because of the ticket aspect to me alone was just so cool. And now it's funny because I go into situations and I'm like, dang, that could have been a really cool NFT ticket versus some of the ways that they do things now. It doesn't work very well, or you miss something, or a ticket is duplicated twice. So since that VeeCon, I do think that technology was amazing and it worked really, really well. But
Mhm.
my favorite thing about it was at the end when Gary Vee announced that whoever had a ticket will get some sort of airdrop from Snoop Dogg collaboration. And it wasn't the Snoop Dogg thing that got me excited, even though that's amazing.
Right.
But what he mentioned was that this is the first time ever that a ticket can be traced back in 10 years' time. Like he can do a 10-year
Right.
decade.
10-year, you could do a 10-year
Let's see who the
anniversary.
heck
You
was
could
there.
do right, right, right,
That is
right,
like in NFL. What if you were a fan of like I'm wearing a Raiders hat right now.
right.
What if I went to a game 10 years later and I've been a fan that whole time and they were able to reward me in some capacity? That to me is insane.
Right. No, you're right. You're right. And that goes back to what we were talking about how we cannot imagine when we go to NFTs. NFTs are getting the ass kicked, and they should, because I remember I was never
Yeah.
a major collector. I did buy and a few, and the one that I used the most is Steppen, the shoe that
Yep.
you got me on. And we did a episode on that too,
We
right? Like,
did.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But the thing is, when people would ask me why, because I'm pro Web3, I'm pro NFTs, and a lot of our talent are really into it. My problem is I didn't understand why this JPEG was worth more than this JPEG.
Right.
Right. I get it. Like, I'm not a
Mhm.
hater. I'm a, whatever it is. I just don't understand. Well, it's the team. It's this. I'm like, okay, really? But every team now has been out for the same period of time.
Yeah.
I never understood. But the thing is that I understand that, oh, if I went to the same Super Bowl and then for the 50th, you hung onto that ticket, and for Super Bowl 50, I got a special airdrop from
Right.
whatever, or one of my favorite bands in the world was Public Enemy. Okay. I went to the first Public Enemy on their first tour, and I got the t-shirt, but I got the ticket. And now this is 40 years later and they do the 40th tour, but the people who have from their ticket from the first thing get a special airdrop. But that is interesting, even as a collector, right? Even if it's not worth hundreds of thousands of dollars like the apes, as a collector, that has value to me.
Absolutely.
Right. And that's a very interesting use case that I never thought of.
100%. Exactly. And go back to what made projects better was really who had the most money to market.
Right. Right. And all of those things. On your channel, when you're talking about Web3, what are the things that you are talking about now versus when you first started?
My channel's starting to evolve a little bit, talking about Web 2 as well. It's bringing in Web 2 concepts, but leading them into why it's important for Web 3. So I talk to random people and ask them their knowledge of the space right now as it is. And I think that's interesting to do as well for future, going back and listening and following up with those. Because can you imagine in 10 years when I can go back and find those content and reshare them?
Right.
Will be really, really cool. So I'm looking at it more like that as a long-term play versus short-term wins. I'm taking like all this content to be able to share it in 5 years, 10 years. That's what I'm sharing over there.
That's
And
going back
all
to your 10-year
yeah,
plan. 10-year plan.
exactly.
Kyle's got
Yeah,
a
it
10-year
is.
plan, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, but I hear you. Me too.
Because it'll be really, really interesting to share that stuff in 10 years' time of asking people what's an NFT, and then people in 10 years' time, everybody's going to understand what that means. So they're going to think that's so funny, asking people questions that will be instilled into us as an everyday life. And looking back, just like I shared a video recently about the internet, and it was on the Today Show, and they didn't even know what the at symbol was. They were
Yeah,
like, "What is that?"
is that crazy? Like, what is the internet? You're 100% correct. People are gonna be like, what is this Web3? And like making funny things about it and all that type of stuff. You're right. It's gonna seem just as ridiculous
It will,
as
and I
this
can't wait to
internet
share
thing,
that
the
stuff.
World Wide Web.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah. I saw.
love watching those videos now because it just makes me realize this is where I'm at right now. People are making fun of it because they don't understand it, but eventually it will become everything. And then
Right.
looking back, they're going to be like, that was hilarious that I thought that way.
Yeah, no, 100%. 100%. So, Mr. Web3 guy, what's your prediction? As in, what do you think the next? We'll probably hop on and do this episode again in another 2 months. What do
Yeah.
you think the next 2-3 months are going to look like? What are you expecting?
I still think we're going to be in a bear market 100%. What I predict is that there might be some interesting things come out of this, maybe utility wise. But for people listening that are, what is some advice maybe you can give me in these next 2 months? Is do a lot of research and look at the last 6 months and see what was happening, what peaked out, what has dropped off, and why, and figuring out where the next shift could be with technology or the next projects that are coming out, and seeing if these new projects that are coming out, do they have more utility than the others? That's what I've been paying attention to and seeing if things have changed. And there's definitely a lot of changes within that. There's a lot of people putting pressure now. They want more than just a profile picture. Nobody cares. They want something with it. They
Yeah.
want community.
Right. They
Yeah.
want community. And
Mhm.
that's why I'm all in on tokenized gaming and learning
Yeah.
about it and building
Right.
communities around that.
Yeah.
Big two things that hit me is that gaming is massive, but it still hasn't cracked the mainstream yet. It just hasn't
Mhm.
cracked the mainstream social consciousness yet, and it
Yep.
will. And
Yep.
then number two, there should be other forms in the creator universe, and especially in gaming. It makes sense that the more you play something, you could get different types of rewards, if it's
Yes.
type of compensation versus just points and spending it in. And you can make a much interesting and more creative world that way, right? Like, so those two
100%.
things make a lot of sense to me. I'm going to spend the next 60 days just really grinding and trying to learn more on that stuff.
I love
And,
that. Yeah.
and we should catch up. We should catch up on that
Absolutely.
after this.
That'd be fun.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this episode is a wrap. Kyle, take it away. Tell them to subscribe and all that fun stuff.
Make sure you guys like, follow, and subscribe to our podcast. Be sure if you have any questions at all on where you can find us on social media, our links are in the show notes, so you can come follow Duke and I on our personal socials as well. See what we're up to in the creator economy in the Web3 space. And yeah, let's keep going.
Let's keep going. That's a wrap. Talk to you all. Thanks a lot for listening.